It's week 21 of the 52-week art journal journey, and I need to tell you about the fun I had last week in the art journal background challenge with Ivana of Artful Haven, which you can see some of here. I'm so excited to share her technique for a soft, fluffy background, or at least my take on it. It's perfect for the 52-week art journal journey because it's relatively quick. You can feel free to take as much time as you want, and a few common materials, most of which are also optional, and we get to play. It's time to get the acrylic paints back out, and a paintbrush, and your fingers. You all know how much I enjoy getting my fingers in the paint. I also used some book page scraps. I'll warn you that they're there for texture, unless you do something very different than I did. I wanted to retain the text when I started, but that didn't work with the rest of the process. That being said, any type of scrap paper will do. I also used a glue stick, a toothpick, an orange juice cap, a kitchen sponge, and a fine, soft, long bristle brush for paint splattering. Yep, I'm smiling over that one too. So let's get started. First is our colors. We'll be doing quite a bit of blending, so remember to be careful with secondary colors. Shades and tints of our primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, are safe. Purple and yellow, or orange and blue, or red and green may look interesting next to each other, but are likely to make mud. As I mentioned in the week 18 watercolor play video, mud isn't always a bad thing, but it doesn't belong here. As we're going for a soft, fluffy effect, you don't want your colors to be too dark. But as we're blending with white, you don't want to go too light either, or you'll lose them. We'll need a darker color later. A pink, a blue, and a yellow are ideal to start. If you choose to use a background with paper scraps for texture, your first step is to tear them and glue pieces creatively around your page. The tearing is important for texture. I probably would have laid mine out differently if I'd had a better picture in mind of where I'd be going. If you'd like to keep things simpler, or just use the sponge texture I use at the end, or something else, you can easily skip the paper. It's all about what you'd like to experiment with. After your paper scraps are glued down, put some of your 3 colors of paint and white on a palette or scrap piece of paper or paper plate or, well, the other day I used one of my Corel plates. Whatever works. Not sure how I forgot the yellow at first, but onward. Choose one of your colors to start applying with your brush. I chose the one that read darkest, my pink. In applying it, I followed many edges of my scrap paper pieces, keeping in mind I had 2 more colors to put on my page. Don't put too much thought into the placement of your first areas of color, or the rest of them for that matter. While your first color is still wet, use white paint on your finger to, the best I can describe it, smear and smudge, blend and soften. You can add more color if a patch is too dry to blend. Repeat the process with your next color. I used my blue, saving my lightest color, yellow, for last. Again, apply random areas of color with a brush, not completely filling your page, then blend some more with the white paint applied with your finger. This helps with the soft, fluffy look we're going for. Follow with your third color, same process. I did blend more than was done in the video in the challenge, and that's okay. Your results can be as muted as mine, or more so, or bolder and more defined. If you're using pink, blue, and yellow, you'll likely see some areas of soft purples and greens develop, and maybe peach. I tried to reclaim some text, but ended up losing it in subsequent steps. Make yourself happy with your colors and blending. After you have the level of color and blending you like, it's time for a darker color. In the challenge, it was suggested to use a darker shade of one of the colors already used. I went a little off book with my beloved dioxazine purple. I also accidentally added too much purple on my first go, but rolled with it. As well as continuing to smudge and blend with white with my fingers, I got out my sponge. If you have one of these sponges that are soft in the package and get dried out and hard exposed to air, you'll need to wet it and squeeze out most of the water until it's just moist. I like to cut mine into small squares. Be careful not to cover the entire surface with paint or put it down too flat on your paper. We don't want squares. My purple was reminding me of stormy clouds, so I played on that in my adjusting, as well as in the later step of adding small areas of previously used colors with my fingers. Yes, my creative friends, I'm once again telling you to play, have fun, experiment, lighten what you'd like lightened, darken what you'd like darker, soften, or harden edges. I kept softening mine. When a toothpick was suggested for adding texture, I decided to use the edges of my paper as guides. If they were going to be there, I figured, why not bring them out more? I quickly had second thoughts, but couldn't fix it. So again, I rolled with it. And in putting this video together and looking at the finished result closer up, I found I really liked it. Use a toothpick if you'd like, or something else to make marks in your paint, or skip this step. Again, it's all about what you'd like to experiment with. Her colors ended up more defined than mine. I love her results, and I love mine. Love yours. The next step was to stamp with something round. For me, it was an orange juice lid. I didn't manage to be as subtle as demonstrated, or as I would have liked, so used the sponge to try to soften my circles a bit. My placement was a bit wonky too, and improving my composition abilities is one reason the art journal recipe is a good choice for me. When it was time to add smaller areas of previously used colors, I kept playing with the cloudy vibe. I highly recommend getting out a tiny brush with long, fine bristles for watered-down white paint splatters. As you may have noticed, I like to roll paint left in brushes I'm done with along the edges of my work. I love the effect, and it works really well with this soft, fluffy cloud look. You can choose whether to keep your soft, fluffy loveliness as is, or use it as a background for a single focal point, or more mixed media collage elements. I added a small piece of text I snipped and collected during our week 11 collaging. But I think I liked my results better before. You can find the link to week 11 and other previously mentioned prompts in this video in the comments, as well as Artful Haven links, including the art journal recipe course. If you're signed up for my weekly email of a bit of extra creative self-care encouragement, you'll receive more details and a limited time discount. If you are ready to invest some more time than we do in the 52-week art journal journey and take a deeper dive into more detailed art journaling, this course is ideal. I'm looking forward to improving my layering and composition skills and more with Ivana's friendly guidance. For this week's journaling, let's write about how it feels to take and make time to learn new things. Thanks for joining me for another small art and journaling prompt. I appreciate the opportunity to encourage you to reclaim your creativity and establish a healthy habit of creative self-care through art journaling. If you're new, check out the week 1 prompt where we made our journals and this journey our own. It will give you a better idea of what's going on here. If you ever decide to share some of your work, please tag me. Melinda Van Rye. And if you'd like, use the hashtag #ArtJournalWithMelinda. But remember, your art journal is as private as you want it to be. It's a place for you to experiment and explore without fear of judgment. I'll be back next week with another prompt. In the meantime, have fun creating your own soft, fluffy page and check out Artful Haven and the Art Journal Recipe.